Hi guys, Ronnie here and welcome to today's video. Yesterday I was working on this brand new KTM Hardtail mountain bike and it's a pretty sweet setup, to be honest. I quite like it, particularly these grey Vittoria tires with the orange frame. I think it's a good match, and after putting it together I decided to weigh the bike. Now this is an OEM bike except the tires and the Look X-Track carbon pedals. But the build is pretty high-end. You got some decent aluminum DTC wheels, full XTR group set. By the way, the owner is very excited that the XTR is now 12 speed, until I've told them that the SRAM has been 12 speed for almost 5 years now, but that's another point. The weird thing about this build in particular is that it uses a very low-end saddle, seat post and handlebar for some reason. I think it just doesn't match the rest of the bike. But anyway, I weighed this bike. Like it is now, it came in at 9.5 kilos, which is pretty light, although it's a size small. I know this KTM frame is quite good. It's pretty light, around 950 grams, if I'm correct. Maybe a bit less in this side. It also has the light Fox stepcast fork, also a nice piece of kit. So overall quite a high-end build. And then I decided, or I was curious, because I didn't really know the weight of my bike as I've been using it, so I decided to weigh that. But I weighed it with the Wahoo on, with the puncture repair kit here on the other end of the bar. Of course it has a power meter, full suspension, and also this little bag. Sorry, the weight of that bike was without the pedals, so it's 9.8 like it is now. And also the spare tube and CO2 canisters, inflator, light here, spare chain link also. And I was quite surprised. Of course this bike is a much higher end build with carbon wheels and all the MV bling stuff, but still it's a full suspension bike in a marathon spec, so 2 bottle cages, everything you need, and it came in at 10.1, which is not a big difference at all, because it means that effectively if you put all these things on the hardtail, it's actually lighter. So what my point is here, I was thinking about this a little bit, because the first bike I got for marathon riding and racing was a Cannondale FSI, and it was pretty much the same thing. It was heavier than this full suspension bike. So at that point I see, well, what really is the point of the hardtail? Because, well, for me, I rode motocross and motorbikes for quite a bit, a lot of off-road stuff, enduro motorcycles, whatever you want. And for me, riding a hardtail mountain bike down a gnarly trail is just weird, because the rear end just doesn't behave like I would expect and what is natural for me. That's why I went for the full suspension bike. Also on the hardtail, when you're going down the rough stuff, at least for me, I get this very unpleasant feeling of vibration and tingling for all the shocks in my legs, which is not what you want in a 4-hour full gas effort in a marathon race. So that's why I steered clear, even though I was advised to stick to the hardtail because of my weight and power to weight, because, well, saving 1 kilo might be beneficial on the climbs. So I don't know, it just doesn't really work for me. And it's not really about the comfort, because it's an Epic. The suspension here is not like a floaty trail bike or enduro bike. It's not really about comfort. Eventually the small bump compliance comes anyway from the tires. Okay, the suspension is working quite nice here, but mainly on the descent. When you have these lockouts and everything, the brain, it doesn't really filter out all those tiny hits, so that's up to the tires. But thanks to the MV rims, I can run very low tire pressures, as low as 16 psi even. if the trail is not so rocky. So yeah, coming back to the hardtail, I have to be honest, I was quite intrigued when now the epic hardtail was released, the new one. Obviously it's going to be much lighter than something like this, which is basically, compared to this, a mid-range bike or a higher mid-range bike, but I don't know, that 1 kilo or even 1.5 only saves you a couple of watts on a steep climb. Of course, on the road the weight doesn't really matter. On a mountain bike it does matter quite a bit more, because the climbs are a lot steeper usually, and there's a lot more climbing in a race. But when I compare the times from my last marathon race, where I raced against, well, professional riders and racers, I wasn't really losing out on the full suspension bike. When it comes to an all-out sprint effort, the brain suspension helps me out there, front and rear. It keeps it rock solid. Of course, with the hardtail, the back is solved. The front, you can have a lockout or a brain there as well. But in general, I don't know. For me, for marathon riding and racing, a hardtail is just not for me. And I see the trend with a lot of riders, because the races I went to, most of the riders are on full suspension bikes now. And also, if you look at the XCO, particularly in the men's classes, women tend to ride quite a lot on hardtail still, which for me is surprising. Maybe it's just as I was advised to, because of their lower weight and thus lower power. But anyway, if you look at the men's elite competition in XCO, all of the top guys run full suspension. So that's Vanderpool, Schurter, Avancini, etc. All of them are on full suspension. Also, yeah, in the marathon scene, I don't really know, because those races are not so popular, not so advertised, but from what I've seen, full suspension is taking over there. It's just because you don't really have that much of a disadvantage anywhere, and the advantages, when they come into play, are very big. So anyway, that's my take on full suspension versus hardtail, with an inspiration from yesterday. If you want to see more and know more about the equipment that I use and work on, then don't forget to tune into the channel and subscribe. It's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.